So 5.3. This is starting to deal with composition of functions again. We're actually ahead of schedule a little bit. Like I'm a day ahead from where we're supposed to be. So tomorrow, because their quiz is on Thursday, we'll be doing a pre-quiz most of the period. So it should give you a clear idea how the quiz is going to look like. That's tomorrow. So we'll finish up 5.3 today. And those two worksheets you picked up, you're just going to staple those together, and that's what you're going to finish up like the last 30 minutes of class. It's your homework since you didn't have any last night over 5.2. So it'll be like your homework over 5.2 and also 5.3. And I'll tell you, there's one question to ignore, so I'll tell you which one that is. So here's kind of finishing up the last of the lesson that's covered on your quiz. So it's gonna, and there's particular questions that are taken from the quiz from this section, starting with these here in particular. So when you read composition of functions, you're sometimes going to be asked to read them in a tabular format. So they're going to ask you what they're wanting, but you need to translate that and be able to implement that in a table. Okay, not just equations that's given to you. So the way you read this is, if you recall, like A is asking you what is T of 4. Well, this 4, that's your input value. That's your X. So what you're trying to get out of this expression or this notation is what's the Y value at 4? And the letter that's in front of it, T, that just tells you which of the two tables to look at. So this is T, right? This is table T, and this one's table C. One for time, and the other one's for cost. So T of 4, here's 4, and it'd be 16, right? When your input value is 4, your output is 16 in table T. For B, now it's C of 4, so go to the table on the right, look at where your input value is 4, and see what your output is. So that would be 110. Okay, these are, after you know how to read them, they get pretty simple. Okay, now C and D involves an actual composite function. Okay, there's something embedded in another function. So the way you read those, once again, is you start from the innermost function, so you find out what T of 1 is first. Okay, because you got to start with the inside. So you find out what T of 1 is first, and then you work your way out. So T of 1 is 4. So then you're going to find C of 4 after that. So C of 4 is on the table on the right. So this also happens to come out to 110. So you get a number, like you get an answer from your inside function, and then you use that answer and plug it into the outer function, and then you get another answer. So you actually end up getting two numbers. So you just stick with the last one. And letter D, same thing, start with the inside. So we're going to find T of 4. T of 4 in this case is 16. So then you work your way out. So you're going to find C of 16, which happens to be 350. Okay, so that's how you read them. That's how you read composite functions in a tabular format. So I know like 100% on your quiz on Thursday, the first 8 questions are questions like this, and there's just one huge table given to you with a bunch of different values, and you just have to be able to read it. You have to know what's being asked of you based on the table that's given to you. So instead of there being like 2 separate tables, there's just going to be one huge table with different functions, and you have to be able to read it and find out what your values are on stuff like this. So are you okay with that? There's 4. If you want to try these 4, you can just really quickly, just to see if you're understanding it. But you can get those, and then we'll move on. Just try those out real quick, just so I can sleep at night tonight, knowing that you got this down. Got that? 1, 2, 4, 2, basically. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next. Let's go to those are the tabular formats. Okay. So I'm skipping down to 7, where we're looking at the same thing, but now there's no tables to reference. We're referencing actual equations, and this is how you kind of are used to seeing it the first week of class when we did that fraction and notation worksheet. Like on the back, we sort of introduced this type of notation to you already. So you've had like a preview of it. So it shouldn't be all all new to you. You had some type of background practice with it already. So just like the tables, for A, you're going to start with the inner function, which is f of 2. So look up top. There's 3 equations. There's 3 different letters. Find the letter that is f and plug in 2 into that equation. So just to remind you, you will never plug anything into that side of anything. So when you're inputting the value, you plug it into the actual equation, okay, not to the left side of the equal sign. Because the left side of the equal sign is just another way of expressing y equals. Okay, so never plug in a value to this side of the equal sign. I just want to make that very clear, because I saw some of you were doing that on the quiz, that first quiz in this class. So find f of 2, so you're going to plug in, so f of 2 ends up getting you squaring 2, right? So you get this, which equals 4. So we're going to use this number now, and we're going to find g of 4. So go to the equation for g, and you're going to plug in 4 into that equation. And whatever you get as an output there is your final answer. So this one's 7. So g of f of 2 is equal to 7. Got it? And b is just mixed match. Like now g is in the inner function and f is on the outside. So now for b, we start with finding what g of 2 is first. So it's 2 times 2 minus 1. We plug in 2 to this equation. So we get 3. And then we work our way out. So now we find f of 3. So we're going to plug in a 3 there. So this gives us 3 squared, so 9. So that's our answer. So f of g of 2 is equal to 9. Okay, got that? So that's how you do these with a specific input value. The next two that we do, they're very generalized and there's no specific input value. So basically what you're going to do for 8a and 8b, you're taking an equation and you're plugging it into another equation. So you're going to end up with another equation. So your answers for A and B here are just going to be another equation, okay? They're not going to be a specific value. So if you don't see any numbers in for x, what you end up with as your answer is a new equation. If you see numbers, okay, then you should end up with a number as an answer. So for A, or for 8a, to set this up, so since f of x is your innermost function, you're going to take f of x and you're going to plug it inside of g. So the way that looks is you're going to take this entire equation and you're going to plug it in there, basically, okay? So it's going to be y equals, because that's what the equation says, y equals. So when we make that substitution, the way that's going to look is like this. Okay, 2 times x squared minus 1. So that just simplifies to 2x squared minus 1. So that's your new equation that you end up with. Okay, now for b, you just work backwards. So now you're taking g and you're plugging it into f. You plug it into the outer function. So for g, you're going to take this and you're going to plug it in for x. The entire equation, plug it into x. So the way that looks is you're going to have y equals 2x minus 1 squared. When you take, let me fill this up. So when you take all of this and you plug it into x there, that's what you end up getting. Rain. Crazy, right? You never seen rain before? How's it? Me too. Okay, so you gotta foil this out. Okay, the way when something like this looks like this, anything squared is that times itself. So it'll look like this. Okay, so this involves you doing the box method, the FOIL method. It's okay if you set up the box for now, but slowly start to transition into the box or the FOIL method. So what you get is first times first gives you 4x squared. So this 2x times 2x is 4x squared. 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x. And then you do the insides. So negative 1 times 2x minus 2x. And then you do the last. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. So the only two things you can combine as your final answer are the minus 2x minus 2x. So your new equation is this. So y equals this. So 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. Okay? So if you know how to do this, a large portion of what we just covered is on the quiz on Thursday. Okay. So up next, you're going to, looking at your worksheet, okay, you're doing all of, so like the rest of the time, 5-2, fix this, so you don't make a mistake. Look at question 66 on 5-2. So you should have two equations that look like this. Okay, so y of x is 2x minus 1. If you're looking at it, that should be pretty, you should see that. Okay, but if you look at x of z, all you see is it's equal to 3z. But there's a plus 2 if you look at the next sentence below. So make sure you catch that. Lesson 5-2, question 66. These are the two equations. The bottom equation is cut off because it goes to the next line, the next sentence. So if you don't catch that, you're going to end up doing the entire question wrong. So I'm just telling you how this should look before you start it. Okay? And next thing, you're skipping 67. Yes. You can cross it out. Don't go too hard on it. Okay? Don't waste all your lead on that problem, crossing it out. Alright, so 5-2 and 5-3, since I'm giving you almost the entire period, that's due tomorrow. Okay? You should finish it with time remaining. That's how fast these are. I have an answer key, so if you're needing help, you're people you're sitting, smart. But I also have a key if you need to reference me at all. And I think that's it for now. Okay, I think we got everything covered. So we should be good for Thursday.